Yeah, it's a shit show then. Was it Monica's, is it something, I can't say the last name, Semtinelli or something? Is that the one you're talking about?
All right.
So that one just wrapped up too. She was found guilty, I believe, yeah.
You're going to stand right in front here and be sworn in.
Or do you mean you mean, okay. You don't mean, got you. My husband just got subpoenaed, or a jury form. He's gonna be one too. Jury summons.
Good morning. Hi, my name is Derek Baumgartner. I am a medical examiner at the Maricopa County Medical Examiner's Office.
Okay.
So I perform autopsies. I determine cause and manner of death for individuals who die under our jurisdiction in Maricopa County, run toxicology reports, and like today, testify in court occasionally. Sure. I completed a Bachelor of Arts degree in American History at the University of Arizona in 2005. In 2013, I got my Doctor of Medicine degree from the University of Illinois in Chicago. From 2013 to 2017, I did an anatomic and clinical pathology residency at Loyola University Medical Center. And then I did a forensic pathology fellowship in Denver from 2017 to 2018. I started in July of 2018.
No.
Yes. I am board certified in anatomic pathology, clinical pathology, and forensic pathology. So board certification happens after completion of residency or fellowship. It consists of, in terms of anatomic and clinical pathology,
yes, for Charles.
16-hour multiple choice exam split over 2 days. And then in forensic pathology, it's an 8-hour exam on one day.
Thank you, Kate.
Sure. Anatomic pathology basically studies tissues, biopsies, surgical specimens, sometimes whole bodies, to diagnose disease processes. Clinical pathology is more of a laboratory thing. So think of blood or tissues or other bodily fluids that are tested in a laboratory setting. Also deals with lab management and regulation compliance. And then forensic pathology is basically studying what the cause and manner of death is for a person. Yes. Yes. So an autopsy is an examination of the external and internal aspects of the body to essentially find out why a person died.
I can't either.
I do.
She's not using the microphone at all.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. I
Fine.
talked to you about July 13th of 2019. Did you perform an autopsy on a Leland Charles Anthony Vallow at about 8 in the morning?
I did.
And was that associated with the OME case number 19-05897?
It was.
You told us that were photographs taken sort of throughout the process of your autopsy, correct?
Correct.
And if I can have my paralegal bring up to the witness 152 through 179 that have previously been shown to defendant.
Please don't show us. Yeah, I've watched Dr. G before. Trigger warning in advance is talking about an autopsy. Hi, Cookin' Bear. Welcome to the team. Good to see you. No, the kid's trial was the first trial. She's already been found guilty in that one. This is conspiring to unalive her fourth husband, Charles Vallow. I don't know why I keep messing up the last names. Well, it's prosecutor's witness right now. It's when Lori gets on that things kind of kick off. But everything that she did last week was way out of line, and I'm surprised they even allowed it. It's a lot of re-victimizing for the witnesses, in my opinion.
Doctor, do you recognize
She does.
those exhibits 152 through 179?
I do.
And are they all photographs of different aspects of the autopsy that you performed on Leland Charles Anthony Vallow?
They are.
Your Honor, the state will move to admit 152 through 179.
Any objection? 152 through 179 are admitted, may be published.
Thank you. So, when you first are assigned a case, you begin with some type of visual inspection overall of the individual.
Yes.
Put up exhibit 152 here. In every autopsy is a photo like this taken.
Yes.
Why is that?
For identification purposes.
And is that the OME number we were talking about that is associated and that we see in all these photographs?
Yes.
When you were first beginning this autopsy, do you take measurements of the height and weight of Charles Vallow?
Yes.
In this case, did you note those in your report?
I did.
Do you recall that information off the top of your head right now?
I do.
What was his height and weight?
Height was 71.5 inches. Weight was 207 pounds.
So just under 6 feet tall?
Yes.
As you were doing an external review of Charles, did you note any injuries to the front of his face?
No.
Did you look at the back of his head?
I did.
Did you note any abrasions or contusions?
No.
Can you tell us, what does abrasion mean?
An abrasion is a scrape that takes off the top layer of skin.
And a contusion?
It's otherwise known as a bruise. It's a breaking of blood vessels that causes blood to pool underneath the skin and in the soft tissues.
So,
Hi, Donna. Thank you. How are you?
if we have seen photos of Charles Vallow laying supine on the floor of the residence, did you note any abrasions or contusions at the back of his head that would have been consistent with him being shot and falling straight back?
No.
Doing pretty good, thanks.
I'm going to put up 153. As you were looking at Mr. Vallow, were you looking for abrasions on any other aspects of his body?
Yes.
Thank you
Did
for
you
the
note
follow.
any on his chest area?
Yes.
Where did you note those?
On the sternal chest and on the left abdomen.
And so external chest, can you point out to us where that is?
The sternal chest is sort of right in the middle of the chest.
So we're talking in this area, and I'm going to pull it in closer. So if we see this wound here, where are we talking in relation to that?
So surrounding the defect.
Okay. Were you able to make any determinations as to whether those contusions or those abrasions actually were made at or near the time of his death?
Yes.
And what was your conclusion?
That they were perimortem or just around the time of death.
Put up some photographs of Mr. Ballow's hands.
I really hope the family got warning about what they'd be showing
Do
today
you look
before.
to an individual's
did so.
hands to see if there are any injuries on those?
Yes. Yes, we do.
Standard for your autopsy procedure.
Yes.
Pull this back out again. What do we see here in Exhibit 155?
Looks to be one of Mr. Vello's hands.
And as we look at 156 and 157, would that be consistent then with his right hand?
Yes.
And did you note any abrasions to his right hand?
Not that I recall.
159, 158. Did you note a little bit of abrasion on his left hand
Yes, I did.
and a little bit more here in his fingers?
Yes.
On this hand that we see in 160, did you note any blood transfer onto his left hand?
How are you?
Yes, there was apparent blood on his left hand.
When you were looking at the other portions of his hands, did you note any other blood on those?
No.
And again, 161 and 162, other portions of his hand, no other abrasions or contusions
Good.
were observed?
No.
And no other blood transfer on those?
No.
Mr. Vallow was wearing a watch at the time, correct?
He was.
When the medical examiner is called out to a scene, do you go out there?
I do not.
Is someone from your office sent out there?
They are.
And our police basically told, to the extent possible, do not touch the body until someone from the medical examiner arrives?
Correct.
So when someone arrives at the medical examiner's office, are they still wearing whatever clothes they have on?
Typically, yes.
I think so too,
And if they have
Kelly.
any jewelry or affects on, those are typically left on them as well?
Correct.
So in 163, is that a photograph then of the watch that he was wearing?
Yes.
Did you note any damage to that watch? Cracked face or anything like that?
I did not know.
Thank you, Piper. How are you?
Put up Exhibit 154, just so it orients better. What are we seeing here?
These are Mr. Vello's lower extremities.
And did you note any abrasions or contusions on his legs?
Yes.
Where did you note those?
On both knees.
Were you able to make any determination as to whether or not those occurred at or near the time of death?
They appear to be perimortem as well.
He had struck in the knees? Please clarify,
Put
sir.
up Exhibit 164. As you're visually looking at Mr. Vallow's body, did you observe a defect to his chest?
I did.
Is that what we see here in Exhibit 164?
Yes.
what did you note that was?
An entrance gunshot wound.
Okay.
But I
And
thought he was face up.
165, is that a closer up of that?
It is.
And 166, is that, again, another close-up of that?
Yes.
Well, I guess
How do
he's
you
still
know
cut
that
off.
that was an entrance wound?
It has characteristics consistent with an entrance wound. It is oval in shape. It also has a peripheral rim of abrasion. And there appears to be a punctate or small little red abrasions surrounding the wound as well.
All right, so when you are looking at gunshot wounds, are you trying to always determine if it's an entrance or an exit wound?
Yes.
And so you're looking for things that are normal and consistent throughout all entrance wounds?
Yes.
And in this case, you also noted something about some red abrasions around the edge. What is that?
There is a red abrasion around the defect or the hole. And it's a little bit eccentric if you think of it as a clock face. From about the 8 o'clock to 12 o'clock positions, that indicates that the projectile was coming in at an angle, and it kind of scrapes away the skin as it enters. There are also abrasions on the opposite side. They are much smaller and look almost like pinpricks. That could be consistent with what's known as stippling, which is when gunpowder strikes the skin after a gun is fired.
That's what Lori was looking for.
Can you tell us, when you're looking at an entrance wound like this and you're looking for, you said stippling, what is soot versus stippling?
Soot is combusted gunpowder, so it's like a black powder, while stippling is caused by, as I mentioned, partially burned or unburned gunpowder that hits the skin.
Does it basically burn the skin when it hits it?
It could, but it's typically, it causes an abrasion, which is just a scraping away of the skin because it's hitting the skin at such a high velocity.
Okay. When you are looking then at this entrance wound that we see in 166 that was in the chest, you noticed what appeared to be consistent with stippling. In your report, did you use the word stippling? Do you recall?
I typically don't. I don't think I did in this case.
Did you describe what you saw
Yes.
and photograph it?
Yes.
Okay. When you are looking at the presence of stippling, does that give you any insight into the distance from the muzzle to the gunshot wound?
It does.
And can you tell us what that tells you about the distance between the muzzle and the gunshot wound?
Typically, a gun needs to be test fired to determine the exact sort of range that it will impart stippling to the skin. But if you look at textbooks, for a handgun, typically the range is, an inch to up to 4 or 5 feet.
The closer that the gun muzzle is to the person, does that increase the amount of stippling that you would observe?
Likely, yes.
Would that also, the closer the end of the muzzle to the person, would that increase the likelihood of seeing soot?
It would.
Okay. So here you did not see soot, though.
I did not know.
So this, have you ever indicated that for this type of stippling that you observed, you believed it to be anywhere from 2 to 4 feet?
I did, yes.
And is that because there's not as dense of an amount of stippling observed at this entrance wound?
Correct.
Okay. Now, did you recover a projectile from this wound?
I did not.
So there was an exit wound associated with that,
Yes.
showing you 167. Where was the exit wound associated with this gunshot wound to the chest?
So it's on the thoracic back, which is like the middle of the back.
I'm going to put 168 up. Is that a closer up of that exit wound?
Yes,
Okay. And put up 169. Is that again closer of this?
it is.
How are you able to determine that that's an exit wound?
It has characteristics of an exit wound. Typically, exit wounds are not round like entrance wounds. They will sometimes be slit-like, as it is in this case, and typically they're a little bit larger than the entrance wound.
Now, when you are documenting injuries, do you measure the distance from the head to the entrance wound as well as the head to the exit wound?
Yes,
In this case, what was the distance from Charles's head to the entrance wound that we saw in his chest?
I believe it was 18 3/4 inches.
And can you tell us, or do you recall what the distance was from Charles's head to this exit wound on his back?
I believe it was 20 inches.
So about 1.25 inches difference.
Yes,
When you are performing an autopsy, do you advise what the wound path is?
yes.
What do you mean by wound path?
The wound path is what the projectile encounters as it passes through the body.
What was the wound path for this gunshot wound that entered Charles's chest and exited his back?
So it passed through the skin of the chest, the sternum,
Trigger
which is the
warning reminder.
breastbone, the pericardium, which is a sac that surrounds the heart. It then hit 2 chambers of the heart, the right atrium and the left ventricle. And then it passed through the 9th thoracic
Thank you,
vertebral
Parker.
body and exited the soft tissue and skin of the left back.
So for lay people, it went through Charles's heart.
Yes,
Was that wound immediately fatal?
not immediately, no.
Could Charles have lived for some period of time after this?
A short period of time, but yes.
Are you able to say when someone is struck in the heart, could they live from seconds up to minutes?
Seconds up to a very few minutes, yes.
Up to, have you testified previously or indicated previously in an interview that it could be up to maybe 2 minutes?
Yes.
When a person is shot in the heart such as this, could Charles have still spoken for that time period?
Yes.
Could he have moved after that bullet went through his heart?
He could have, yes.
So would it be possible for him to reach up and touch where he was shot with his left hand?
Yes.
Given the abrasions to Charles's knees, is it possible that he fell to his knees after he was shot?
It's possible, yes.
Would those abrasions on his knees be consistent with someone falling to their knees?
Yes.
When you are performing an autopsy, do you, well, let me first talk. As you were going through the description of the path, the wound path, you talked about the trajectory going through
She
the
was
9th
there.
thoracic vertebral. Is that correct?
Yes.
I'm going to show you Exhibit 171. Can you describe for us what we are seeing here?
That is a trajectory rod passing through the defect that was created in that 9th thoracic vertebral body.
So this rod that you're using is helping to show the path of that bullet through Charles's body.
Correct.
And just to orient those of us who haven't seen a person this way, can you tell us, is Charles's head up here?
It is.
And so this would be down towards his legs at the
Correct.
bottom.
Yes.
When you are talking about the injuries to an individual, do you also determine the trajectory of that
Good idea,
bullet
Anita.
through the individual?
I do, yes.
So for this wound to Charles's chest that exited his back, what was the trajectory?
It was front to back, right to left, and slightly downward.
How are you determining that trajectory? Is there a modem that you use that's standard for all autopsies?
Yes, through measurements of the entrance wound and exit wound, and then also observing what organs and tissue have damage from the bullet.
So let me go back to Exhibit 164. You're looking at this entrance wound here, correct?
Yes,
And the exit wound that we see in 168 to determine that front to back, and then you said right to left and slightly downward?
yes,
So the downward is the 1 1/4 inch difference that you saw from the head measurement.
correct.
Could that downward angle be the result of someone just holding a gun at a slightly downward angle?
Yes, that's possible.
Could it be also from just the arm itself moving up or down some,
Yes,
or size difference between people?
yes.
You're not here because to tell us which one of those it was, correct?
I can't determine that, though.
As you were performing the autopsy of Mr. Vallow, did you note another gunshot wound to Mr. Vallow?
I did, yes.
And I'm putting up Exhibit 172. Where was the other gunshot wound that you observed on Mr. Vallow?
On his left abdomen.
And do we see in 172, is that what we see sort of above and to the side of his belly button?
Yes,
Were you able to tell what we see in 172 here, whether that was an entrance or exit wound?
I was.
And what was this?
This was an entrance gunshot wound.
And again, were you following the same view of looking at all the same aspects of this wound to determine that it was an entrance wound?
Correct.
In this entrance wound, did you note any stippling?
I did not.
Any soot?
No.
So would that tell you that the individual or the muzzle of that gun was more than 4 or 5 feet away from the victim?
Most likely, yes.
Did you recover a projectile from this gunshot wound?
I did not.
So there was an exit wound associated with it.
Correct.
I put up Exhibit 175. Where was the exit wound?
It was on the back of the left shoulder.
And is that what we see in Exhibit 175 here?
Correct.
I'm going to put some closer up photographs, 176 and 177. What did you note about this exit wound?
This exit wound appears a little bit atypical. It has characteristics of a supported or a shored exit wound.
What is a shored exit wound?
A short exit wound occurs when the body is pressed up against a firm surface while the bullet is exiting the skin.
Does that cause sort of this different tearing that we see going on here in that exit wound?
It does.
If a person was, for instance, laying on the floor when they were shot, would you expect to see a short exit wound in that situation?
I would.
When you're talking about something pressed up against the skin, have you ever seen a shored wound from someone wearing a t-shirt?
I have not.
Have you seen other shored wounds in your experience?
I have, yes.
Approximately how many have you seen in your years of working?
I mean, they're relatively rare, so maybe less than 50.
When you were looking at this exit wound on Charles Vallow's left shoulder, was the injury itself what you would call sort of a typical shored wound?
This is textbook worthy.
Now, just like the other wound, did you determine the wound path for this gunshot wound that entered Charles Vallow's abdomen and exited his left shoulder?
Yes.
What was the wound path for this shot?
So the bullet passed through the skin and soft tissues of the left abdomen. It then hit the left lung. It then hit the back part of the left fourth rib, and then exited the soft tissue and skin of the left shoulder.
How are you, Cindy?
So to be clear, the left fourth rib, is that in the front of him or his back? Where is that located?
In this case, it struck the posterior or the back part of the left fourth rib.
Is that sort of in the location where we see
Pretty good, thank you.
the exit wound right there?
The exit wound is a little bit above the fourth rib.
You talked about sort of the soft tissue. So when this bullet was exiting, did it sort of hit both the rib and the connective tissue between the ribs?
Yes.
Did you also measure the distance from Charles's head to the entrance wound on the abdomen?
I did.
What was that distance?
I believe it was 27 inches.
And did you measure the distance from the top of Charles's head to the exit wound on his left shoulder?
I did.
What was that?
I believe it was 14 inches.
So the prior shot had a 1 1/4 inch difference. Was this one 13 inches?
Yes,
So more than a foot difference between the entrance and exit.
correct.
Did you determine the trajectory for this wound?
I did.
What was that trajectory?
In this case, it was front to back, right to left, and upward.
Did you also use trajectory rods in this wound to help better describe that trajectory?
I did.
Put up Exhibit 179. Can you orient us first on what we're seeing here?
So the placard with the case number is positioned towards the head, and then the opposite is positioned towards the feet.
When you perform an autopsy, how do you open up the individual?
It's called a thoraco-abdominal incision. You've probably seen it on TV as the Y incision.
So what we see here is that sort of the abdomen of Mr. Vallow.
Yes,
Okay. And what we see here is that his back.
yes,
And is this the spine?
yes.
So does this reflect then the entrance being down at this portion of the body and the exit in that up left shoulder?
Yes.
So in this case, were both gunshot wounds front to back?
They were.
Were both gunshot wounds right to left?
Yes,
The gunshot wound to Charles's chest was slightly downward,
correct.
and the
Right,
gunshot
Kristen.
wound to Charles's abdomen was upward.
Yes,
The gunshot wound to Charles's chest that exited his back was not shored,
no, it was not.
but the gunshot wound that entered Charles's abdomen and exited his left shoulder was shored.
Thank
Correct.
you, Wendy.
Doctor, given the trajectory that you observed, that from the gunshot wound to Charles's abdomen that exited his left shoulder,
Me too.
and the fact that the gunshot wound was shored, would that be consistent with the shooter standing somewhere near Mr. Vallow's feet and firing at Charles Vallow as he was laying on the floor?
Yes, that's certainly possible.
There you have it. How are you, Wendy?
Now, you told us that you don't go out to the scene, right?
I do not know.
So you would not have seen if there were any defects on the floor consistent with a bullet strike underneath Mr. Vallow.
I did not.
if you were advised that there was a defect on the floor that was consistent with a bullet strike underneath Charles Vallow's left shoulder, would that further support the theory that he was laying on the floor there, causing that sword wound when he was shot?
It would, yes.
When an autopsy is performed on anyone,
Happy
is
Monday.
blood
How are you?
collected to be tested for toxicology?
If we can get it, yes,
Was that done here?
it was.
Were there any drugs found in Charles Vallow's system?
No drugs were reported positive on toxicology.
No alcohol found?
No.
Based upon your autopsy of Leland Charles Anthony Vallow,
That could have
what did
been
you
big.
determine was the cause of death?
Multiple gunshot wounds.
Thank you. The state has no other questions, Your Honor.
Now, if she was still able to give him that medicine that was JJ's that she was crushing up, I wonder how long that would have stayed in the system for. But they did have a split between there where they hadn't seen each other, so maybe it had already been out of his system. Thank you. Here's Lori.
Dr. Baumgartner, you did a toxicology report in this case?
I sent blood for toxicology, yes.
And what did you test for? What substances did you test for in that toxicology report?
There are 16 or 20 substances that are tested. Typical drugs of abuse, a limited amount of therapeutic medications, and then alcohol, methanol, acetone, and isopropanol, I believe.
But not generally like someone's regular medications, like for high blood pressure or something like that?
That would not show up on this test, no.
Oddly
If someone was
specific.
taking testosterone, that wouldn't show up on there?
It would not, no.
Human growth hormone would not show up on there?
No.
So just basically the substances that
Yeah.
you mentioned
Yes.
are typically tested. And then if law enforcement were to ask you to test for something specific, then you would do that as well. Is that correct?
It depends.
By her asking about testosterone and human growth therapy, like HCG, what are you implying, Miss Daybell?
On what?
The case type, what their request was, if it's even possible.
Okay. So if they were to say, we want you to test for a certain something, you would say if you could or couldn't?
Probably, yes.
Okay. And is that typical in your experience
Is what typical?
for them to ask for things other than what you normally, the normal 16 things that you test for?
That would be atypical.
Yeah.
Okay. So normally they don't ask you to do that in a common manner.
They do not know.
Okay.
But for
And
Charles
so in this
Vallow?
case, you did just test for the typical things and no other requests were made. Is that correct?
I believe so, yes.
I agree with that, Lisa. Gets her out of her jail cell.
As far as the abrasions on Charles' knees, could those have been, you said that they were consistent with having been close to the time of death, is that correct?
They had that general appearance, yes.
And so those abrasions could have been caused by a scuffle before he was shot, is that correct?
Yes,
And not necessarily falling forward onto his knees.
correct.
And then the abrasions on his hands as well,
What about them?
that they could have been caused from a scuffle beforehand.
Yes.
Okay.
I like him.
I know that the state asked you if it was consistent with him, with the second shot, the shot to the abdomen, that it was possible that he could have been shot on the floor. Is that correct?
Correct.
Superiority.
But would it also be possible that he could have been falling when that shot happened as well? And then hit the floor?
Not really. If he was falling and still passing through air not yet having hit the ground, that would not have caused a short wound.
So if he had hit the ground and bounced on the ground from the first shot, as the second shot was traveling, that could not be possible that he hit the ground when that shot was exiting the shoulder?
He would have had to have been on a firm surface to create that short wound.
And it could not be caused by tight clothing?
Tight clothing and short wounds is typically like a supportive garment, like a belt or a bra. In my experience, I've never seen it with like a t-shirt or anything like that.
Are you familiar with bamboo clothing?
Again,
not,
the
no.
bamboo clothing.
Or how tough that material would be?
Deja vu.
I am not.
Okay.
He dodged a bullet with that one.
That's all I have, Your Honor.
All right, redirect.
That's all I have, Your Honor. That little girl voice she switches to. She
Doctor,
definitely
if-
didn't use it with
Clothing
female
like a t-shirt,
witnesses.
bamboo or whatever they're made of, would have caused a short wound. Would you have expected to see the short wound also to the other exit?
Certainly if both exits were covered by with that shirt, yes.
So if the person is wearing a t-shirt that covered his back and shoulder,
Yes.
then if that type of fabric somehow was restrictive enough or tight enough or stiff enough to cause that pressure, then it would have caused a short wound to both exits.
I would expect that, yes.
But you didn't see that here.
No.
Only one short wound.
Correct.
The other exit, not at all.
No.
1 point for
You
prosecution.
asked a lot about different drugs. Was there anything about Mr. Vallow's autopsy that indicated that his cause of death was anything other than the result of multiple gunshot wounds?
No, Crystal, I don't.
No.
Thank you. No other questions?
You gotta remember
Are
that
there any questions?
his
for
older
this
sons
witness from a member of the jury? I do see. at
were
least one
notified
question.
via text. Right, Desiree? They didn't live with, those kids were already out of the house, so I don't expect them to testify. But could you imagine the picture that could be painted? Lori would not like that, not one bit. The jury, just so you guys know, I know it might get a little confusing. In the state of Arizona, when a witness is up on the stand, if the jury has a question, they could write it down and then give it to the judge, and the judge can then decide if they want to ask the witness the question for the jury to get it clarified right on the spot. I wish they did that in every state, because that would be a lot more thorough and give the testimony and highlight the parts that maybe is confused about, you know? I like that they do that. I wish we could have it in all states. Make sure everything is crystal clear. Wait, what about Alex? Yeah. Charles isn't. JJ, Tylee, Tammy, Alex. And then her
Were
fourth
there
husband
significant amounts
as well.
of blood in the left lung?
Not the left lung itself, but the left chest cavity.
Does that suggest the heart was beating, still beating during the second wound or the second shot?
The heart could have been beating at that point. It's also possible that the heart was still and contained blood, and that blood just spilled into the left chest cavity.
Was there
Jesus.
blood in the throat or mouth?
There was not.
Any other juror questions? Not seeing any.
Keep in mind, these are the
follow-up
questions from the
defense based
jury.
on that jury question
No, Your Honor.
from the state.
expect the blood to go after that gunshot?
The left chest cavity.
Right, Sherry?
About that the heart could have been bleeding at that time, or the blood could have spilled into the cavity. Can you explain that a little more?
Thank you.
Sure. If the heart was still beating, blood would have been pumping through it, and blood would have been spilling from the two defects in the heart, one in the right atrium and one in the left ventricle. It's also possible that the heart was either fibrillating, which is not really beating, just sort of quivering, which often happens right before death, or potentially the heart was still, but blood that was in it at the time that death occurred would
Thank you,
spill out of
Kevin.
those two defects I just described.
Any of those situations, would you expect potentially blood to end up in that left cavity?
Yes,
And that's what you saw.
yes.
You were also asked about blood in the throat or mouth.
Thank you.
Does the absence of that indicate that the victim was or was not alive for some period of time after the discharge heart?
Thank you so
No.
much, Kelly.
All right, sir, you can step
I'll
down.
look it up when they're on a break.
State can call its next witness.
Thank you, Lucid. Thank you. That scared me. Thank you, Donna. Thank you, Catnip. Thank you, Desiree. Yay, thank you. Okay, this is a bamboo cool men's undershirt. Moisture wicking crew neck t-shirt. Breathable stretch soft tees for men. Dry fit, stay fresh all day. Undershirts made from soft, breathable mesh and moisture wicking fabric. Slim fitting to give you a sleek, tailored look, ideal for layering. Designed to hug your frame, they offer a modern fit and all-day comfort built to last. And she thinks that that would affect the path of a bullet? I think she's reaching by a lot.
All right, sir, come on up. You're going to stand right in front here and be sworn in.
Do you like them?
Yeah, come right up. Come right up here.
Can you explain your name? Do solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Thank you.
All right, you're going to walk around the court reporter and have a seat to my left.
That's what I was thinking.
Would you please introduce yourself to the jury?
My name is Mark Sari. I'm a special agent with the Social Security Administration Office Inspector General.
What do you do there?
So I investigate crimes and allegations of fraud, waste, and abuse within Social Security.
How long have you worked for Social Security?
Approximately 6 years.
And as an investigator
No
with
problem.
Social Security, are you familiar with the reports that are created and kept in the normal course of business?
Yes, I am.
And for instance, are you familiar with sort of the meetings and processes and notices of award letters sent out by Social Security for survivor benefits?
Yes, I am.
What are survivor benefits?
Those are benefits paid to a recipient. For example, if someone were to die or pass, their children would be possibly entitled to benefits on their behalf after they were to pass.
When a child becomes an adult, what happens to those survivor benefits that Social Security has been paying?
They would cease.
What if a child is taken to or adopted by or guardianship is given to another individual while they're receiving survivor benefits?
They would transfer to that new individual.
When a child has a parent that passes away, are any benefits paid out to the mother of the child?
Yes, they could be.
How does that depend? What makes the difference on whether or not the mother gets benefits or not?
So it's a benefit called mother, child, and care benefits. So for example, if a mother is married to her father at the time of his death, she would receive called a mother, child, and care benefit. So it'd be a dual benefit for the
Whoa,
child.
wait. If a mother is married to her father, what?
As well as her benefit for herself. It'd be the same dollar amount that she would receive as well.
So if the parents were not married at the time that one of the parents passes away, then does the other parent get any survivor benefits?
They would not.
If a surviving
Okay.
spouse remarries,
Thank
what
you.
happens to
I was
those
like, what?
benefits given to, say, the mother of the child?
They would then cease upon that marriage.
Would the child still get benefits?
They would.
Okay. Were you asked to look into survivor benefits involving Lori Vallow and JJ Vallow?
Yes, I was.
In your investigation, did you also become aware of benefits being provided to another child of Lori Vallow, Tylee Ryan?
Yes.
During your investigation,
For
did
Joseph
you
Ryan.
learn that starting in June of 2018, Tylee Ryan was receiving survivor benefits from Social Security, the death of her father?
Yes.
In 2019, how much was Tylee Ryan receiving?
Approximately $18.59 per month.
Is there a representative payee for a child who is receiving Social Security benefits as survivor?
Yes, there is.
What is a representative payee?
So based upon a child being a minor, we would appoint a called representative payee. So that person would be the payee on behalf of that child. So they would have a bank account and they'd pay money from us on behalf of that child to pay for shelter, clothes, money, that sort of thing, food, that sort of thing.
So in the case of Tylee Ryan, was Lori Vallow the representative payee for Tylee Ryan?
She was.
And is in general, those benefits you said are put into a bank account that can be held by both the child and the payee?
Correct.
Now, if
And that's not motive for Joseph
Lori
Ryan?
Vallow was married in June of 2018 to someone else, not Tylee's father, would she still receive that mother of survivor benefits?
She would not.
How does a person go about applying for survivor benefits from Social Security?
So upon the passing of the recipient, say a father, they would have to go into the office or apply online and then have an appointment to confirm the details for that survivor receiving benefits on behalf of that designant.
And so that's the normal course of business, is to have someone come in eventually and speak with someone about verifying different important aspects to consider when determining whether or not to provide survivor benefits.
Correct.
During your investigation, did you become aware of Lori Vallow going to an appointment with someone from Social Security Administration related to JJ?
Yes.
When was that?
On or about August 12th, 2019.
During that meeting, did Lori Vallow have to answer questions relating to her relationship with Charles Vallow?
Yes.
Did she have to, for instance, provide the date when she and Charles Vallow were married?
Yes.
When was that?
The date of the marriage, and I have to be refreshed from a document for that.
Sure.
She's got to be asking all this for a reason, right? That's what I'm thinking.
It would have been on February 24th, 2006.
During that meeting on August 12th of 2019, was Lori Vallow questioned about whether or not she and Charles Vallow were living together at the time of his death?
She was.
And what did Lori Vallow tell Social Security on August 12th of 2019 about whether or not she and Charles Vallow were still living together at the time of his death?
She confirmed they were living together at the time of his death.
That's a lie.
Is that important in trying to determine survivor benefits?
It definitely helps the agencies determine if benefits are entitled to the recipient, correct?
Now, as part of your job, sort of working for the Office of Investigations for Social Security, did you become involved in looking at these benefits that were awarded to Lori Vallow and to J.J. Vallow
Yes.
as a result of the death of Leland Charles Vallow?
Yes.
Is something wrong? Do you need me to take a moment and mute?
No.
1 second, guys. Sorry, guys.
You told us you were familiar with the notice of award letters that Social Security sends out.
I agree.
Yes.
And are those letters created in the normal course of business?
Yes.
And are they created at or near the time when that person goes in to make that appointment and a decision is made to provide those survivor benefits?
Yes, correct.
I can have my paralegal approach with 213 and 214.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you recognize what those two exhibits are?
I do.
And are those the notice of award letters sent to Lori Vallow regarding survivor benefits for both herself and for J.J. Vallow?
Yes, they are.
And those are the documents you talked about that were created in the normal course of business
Yes.
at or near the time of that decision?
Yes.
Your Honor, the state will move to admit 213 and 214.
Any objection?
No objection.
213, 214 are admitted.
And if I can get those so I can.
Well, it's the
Publish them as well.
prosecutors, yeah.
Start with 213.
How did they not realize that
Okay.
she was doing the same thing she
What we
did
see here in
with Joseph
213,
Ryan?
Is this a
Allegedly.
letter that would be sent to Lori Vallow on behalf of Joshua Jackson Vallow, J.J. Vallow?
Yes, correct.
And we see it was sent to an address in Santan Valley.
Yes.
Does this letter provide or advise how much money that Lori Vallow would receive or that J.J. Vallow would receive as a result of the death of his father?
It does.
And how much would he receive as a result of the death of Charles Vallow?
It'd be $19.51 per month. It also mentions the back pay from the date of death for Charles up until that date of the letter.
Okay. So monthly, the $19.51, and then a back pay of $3,902?
Correct.
If she unalived them,
Exhibit
which
2014.
was the first trial, what you think?
When Ms. Vallow
Fraud.
went in on August 12th, would that be the same, during that meeting, would they have been questioning her with regards to both JJ as well as her survivor benefits?
Yes.
So this letter is from that same meeting.
Yes.
In 214 again, this one, we see that it's only addressed to Lori Vallow, but at the same 1658 East Sherry Street in Santan Valley.
Yes.
If you think about it, Kate, they're probably like, well, we've already got her guilty for 2 murders and then conspiracy to unalive Tammy. And then this one will just be another. So it's life sentences without possibility of parole. She's never getting out. But I say let's be complete. Let's charge her with everything.
And
Can never be
how
too
much
sure.
money was Ms. Vallow
It's okay.
set to receive as a result of the death of Charles Vallow?
It would be $19.51 per month.
Is that the same?
They don't clarify. Is that $19.51?
Same as what JJ was getting?
Yes, it'd be mirroring the same amount that JJ was receiving. Yes, correct.
So basically, she's getting about $4,000 a month?
Approximately, yes.
Not $19. $1,900.
Now, in the
$1,900 that Tylee was getting for Joseph Ryan, her father, who mysteriously passed away. And then JJ would get them for Charles Vallow. Right. $4,000. No wonder she was able to apply to Hawaii and get married again for the 5th time.
these letters and the other documentation you reviewed, we see her as Lori N. Vallow, correct?
Yes.
Those dollar signs smell like a
In your
motive.
investigation, did you ever learn whether or not Lori N. Vallow ever remarried and became Lori N. Daybell?
Yes.
Can you tell us in your investigation what the date of that marriage was when Lori N. Vallow became Lori N. Daybell?
November 5th, 2019.
And who did Lori Vallow marry?
Chad Daybell.
No other questions for this witness, Your Honor?
Cross.
I wouldn't do it, Lori. But you're going to do it, aren't you? She's going to do it. Here we go. Yep, death benefits. $4,000 a month in death benefits. Almost. For Joseph Ryan, Tylee's father
Sorry.
being dead, and then Charles for JJ.
The Social Security, as a surviving spouse, can you get benefits if you didn't have any children?
I believe so, correct? Yes.
Okay, so if you've been married for longer than 10 years, you get spousal surviving benefits, is that correct?
There are some
Until
rules
you
for
get
that. I believe
remarried.
that is correct, I believe, yes.
And so if I had been married to my husband for 10 years and his previous wife had been married to my husband for over 10 years, she would also get that surviving spouse benefit?
What's your question again? Who's the she part? I'm trying to follow that part.
Okay, just a previous person who has been married to my husband previous to me
Are you asking for a friend, Lori? Damn.
for more than 10 years. I mean, that's what Social Security does, right?
I'm not sure. What is your question? I'm trying to.
Okay, sorry. So if there were two spouses to a deceased husband
Okay.
consecutively, and they were both each married for over 10 years to that same husband, they would both receive a spousal benefit or could apply for and receive that spousal benefit. Is that
Lori, this is not a mathematics class.
correct?
Thank you,
It's
Parker.
more of an administrative issue. I have to obviously I'm not aware of all those policies for that kind of issue, so I can't really answer yes or no to that question.
Okay. So if it was explained to me when I was at the Social Security office that I could
Objection.
receive that.
Objection.
I'm going to sustain the objection.
Okay, but it is possible, you're just not aware of it, is that correct?
I would have to ask an expert in our agency for administrative rules on that.
Okay, and what is your
Lori.
expertise at Social Security?
I'm a special agent.
And so you just investigate, is that correct?
Investigate crimes of fraud, waste, and abuse with Social Security, correct?
And he's there for you.
You investigate fraud, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. But you're not really privy to what an agent might be telling a person as they come in to get Social Security, is that correct?
What they tell an agent, an employee, or what is your question again?
What are you
Yes, so you're
implying
not really
again?
privy to what the employees are telling the regular people that come in to the Social Security office.
She was.
I'm not there for those appointments, correct?
So you don't really understand what all benefits can be given?
That's right,
We,
Crystal.
OIG, investigate crimes of fraud, waste, and abuse. So we are the experts for that. And we also have experts internally in Social Security we look to for guidance on internal rules that are more complex, if that kind of helps you out.
Okay.
For the love of God, somebody remind me to make the objection sticker tonight because we need like 56 of those.
So you had said something about mother in care benefits, is that correct?
Yes.
So, and it's the same dollar amount as the child in care benefits, is that correct?
There's two benefits for the child in care and also for JJ, and they were the mirroring same amount,
We
correct?
really do.
But wouldn't the mother in care benefits be for the child?
It would be if the individual had the child in their care, correct?
Right. So, but
Have you guys noticed the difference of her tone of voice when she's speaking to a male and a female? Because I think that's why you hear a difference, but that's just my
a
opinion.
spousal benefit, if you've been married for over 10 years and you didn't have any children, you would still be entitled to that. Isn't that correct?
My
Ma'am?
understanding is that you have to be a certain age to get that benefit, to be a certain age to apply for that. In this situation here, due to the decedent Charles dying, there was a benefit for the child only that was receiving, as well as child in care. So only two benefits were received for the
Me
child,
too.
also child in care as well.
So my question is, how is that determined by the employee? Like if it's spousal benefit or if it's a mother in care benefit?
It'd be up to the applicant to apply for the benefits.
So if you applied for the spousal benefit and they gave you the mother in care benefit instead, how would you know the difference? You just know that that was the monthly amount you were getting?
You would receive a letter in the mail. You also would be at the appointment very clearly told what you're applying for.
Again, are you asking for a friend?
There should not
Relevancy?
be any confusion about what you're applying for at that appointment.
Okay, so if you were told that you were getting the spousal benefit,
Objection.
Yeah. It's sustained.
if an employee told a recipient
Hearsay.
that they were getting a spousal benefit,
I'll allow him to answer that hypothetical if he
Ma'am, use your mic, please.
if an employee were to tell someone they were getting a spousal benefit and they received a letter in the mail saying it was a mother in care benefit, should they call the Social Security office and clear that up?
It would be up to the applicant, if they received a letter in the mail, to contact Social Security and say, hey, this is the wrong benefit I'm receiving. So it would be up to the applicant to let Social Security know that benefit is not correct.
So if the employee put it in as something other than they told the recipient, then it would just be up to the recipient to correct that. Is that correct?
Social Security goes off of information that's provided to the agency by the applicant. That makes sense. So it's up to the applicant to be truthful.
If there's an error,
and
that's
provide
your
the right
fault.
information to the agency.
Not theirs, ma'am.
So do you have a copy of my application for either of these benefits?
You'd have to ask the prosecutor for that information.
Okay. Have you ever seen one to your knowledge that you remember?
Yes,
You've seen my applications.
yes, I have.
And were they for mother in care?
It was for survivors for JJ as well as for mother child in care as well.
Thank
So
you.
the
Welcome on the
application that I
team.
filled out was not for spousal benefit. Is that what you're saying?
Well,
I'm sorry.
he can answer if he knows, if he recalls the answer.
Just don't call it.
Repeat the question, please.
I'm saying, so of the records that you saw, I
How are
did not
you?
have a spousal survivor benefit application.
The records I saw were an application for survivor's benefits for JJ, as well as for child and care as well. Two different benefits that you were receiving.
Okay, so is there an application for spousal benefit?
I'm only aware of the two benefits you were receiving, which was for JJ and for mother, child, and care.
So it could have been a mix-up of the employee. Is that what you're saying?
It would,
Don't
it would
say
have
it.
been relying on information you had provided at that application appointment, August 12th, 2019.
Yeah.
And this is a filled out form application? Is that what you're saying? It's not just something you verbally give to the employee?
I believe you could do it online ahead of time, but you were present, I believe, on August 12th at the office to go through line by line, I believe, with that application.
Right.
So if I thought I was getting, if a person,
She almost messed up there. So if I meet a person,
so in your investigation of this fraud, you have seen all of my applications, is that correct?
I reviewed any and all documents that we have in relation to JJ as well as to you receiving benefits on his behalf, correct?
And you do not recall seeing any spousal surviving benefit application, is that correct?
All that I recall seeing was, once again, the two applications, one for mother, child, and care, and one for JJ as well.
And isn't that a redundant benefit?
Which benefit?
The mother in child care and the child in care. Isn't that that's basically the same thing?
JJ had a benefit for himself solely. Then a second one to be mother, child, and care.
I don't know if you caught that or not, but he referred to JJ in past tense. This is what Lori's opening the door up to, that the jury may not know that JJ is no longer with us, so he can't receive it anymore.
Does that
To
make
take care of the child.
Correct. The child has to be under your care, custody, and control during that time period, correct?
So when you're receiving these Social Security benefits, they want them to be for the things that you stated previously, right?
We have a few examples, but it is for the benefit of the child, correct?
That's where I'm
Right, and it's supposed
seeing
to be
this
spent on
going.
food and clothes, and it could be spent on an electric bill, and it can be spent on rent. They want you to utilize that money on a monthly basis, is that correct?
Correct, or you could also conserve it for the child as well, but that is correct.
And that they can do an audit any time of your account to make sure that you're spending it on those correct things, is that correct?
I believe so, yes.
And they want it to be spent every month, and you can't really save it for college, is that correct?
No,
So if an employee told that to a recipient, that would be incorrect?
the benefit is for the child. The money can be saved.
They
or
record
spent
those
on the
calls,
child.
Lori.
So if a recipient was told that all the money has to be spent every month on the care for the child and could not be saved for college,
Ma'am, call customer service after. Don't make us sit through your customer service. No.
because it is Social Security.
The objection sustained.
Good afternoon, Myra.
It's straying into you testifying now.
So it is not your understanding that that benefit has to be spent every month. Is that correct?
She's objecting again.
Sustained.
So you're not aware of that?
Asked and answered.
Can I have a moment to confer?
Go ahead.
She needs to speak with her. her assistant, if you will. For the love of the Social Security. I wonder that too, but keep in mind, this is a 13-man, 2-woman jury. She acts different when she speaks to men than she does when she speaks to women. In my opinion, of course. That's why you should never represent yourself. You don't have to worry about it then. No, it was her former
Mr. Silver,
attorney.
you weren't present at the interview with
Yeah.
me and the employee at the Social Security office on August 12th, were you?
I was not.
So you did not really know what was said. Is that correct?
Correct.
So you just saw the applications in the later time?
Yes.
What time about when you started investigating this fraud?
In or about January 2020.
And who is your superior?
Is your question who my boss is, or?
Yeah.
That's
I
inappropriate.
have a special agent in charge who's my immediate boss.
That's inappropriate.
Who assigned my case to you? That's my question.
Relevancy.
It's not really relevant, but you can answer some.
Are you asking for the name, or what are you looking for as far as your question?
The name would be fine.
At the time, it was special agent in charge, Joe Rogers. He's now retired.
And he was your direct,
He was my ASAC at the time.
Are you going to phone him?
and that came to you in January of 2020?
Yes, correct.
Thank you. No more questions.
All right, redirect.
I know, right? She's not
August
helping
12th
herself.
of 2019, when Miss Vallow went to Social Security and had a meeting, what is the point of that meeting?
The point of that is for an applicant to come into Social Security, apply for benefits, and then have Social Security determine if they're eligible or not for those benefits.
Wait, when did she
With
go?
you a paper that was provided to you earlier to review. After that meeting, was a letter sent to Mrs. Vallow relating to the answer she gave and the benefits she was requesting.
Yes,
Is that what you were looking at when you were looking at some of the information that she had provided?
yes.
So in that letter that was sent to Miss Vallow, what address was that sent to?
It would be the 1658 East Sherry Street in Santan Valley, Arizona.
And so that letter covers the answer she gave that we previously discussed of when she married Charles Vallow, for instance,
Correct.
We might have to reset. We just got reported.
children that they had,
Yes,
that they were still living together,
yes,
and then discussed what she would be applying for.
yes.
When you,
For not my own content. But they can't claim it's theirs either. This is live and commentary. If you don't like it, scroll on.
in your understanding and having investigated these crimes, does Social Security just start deciding for people what benefits they feel they might want? Do they make decisions for them? Hey,
No.
you look like you might want these benefits.
Not at all, no.
So regardless of whether any of us understand why Social Security would give benefits for a child and for the mother of the child if they're still married to the spouse, that is what you can get?
They would ask the applicant what they are applying for, correct, as far as for that benefit.
So when a couple is married and they have a child together,
We won the
and one
appeal.
of those spouses dies, the other spouse may be entitled to benefits for the child. Is that correct?
Yes,
As well as benefits for them as the mother of that child.
yes,
This is getting confusing.
So in addition to the initial letter after that August 12th meeting, then Ms. Vallow was sent the second two letters, Exhibits 213 and 214, that showed her how much she was ultimately awarded.
correct.
One letter was sent to her specifically for JJ,
Yes,
and the other letter was sent to her specifically for herself as the mother in care of JJ.
yes,
And that's the one where we saw it was her name for JJ.
yes.
In your investigation, you did not see any surviving spousal benefits.
I did not.
No, don't worry about it. No,
All you saw
that wasn't anyone's fault. Seriously, don't worry about it.
in looking through
We want it.
reams of documents was that Mrs. Vallow was receiving those two benefits that we've discussed.
Correct.
Me either.
You were asked about
Thank you for renewing your
when you
subscription,
began
Desiree.
investigating this case, correct?
Yes,
And would those benefits for Lori Vallow have terminated when she became Lori Daybell?
yes. Upon a remarriage, that mother child and care benefit would immediately cease.
Hi,
The
Nancy. Good to
benefits
see
for
you as
JJ
well.
would have continued.
Correct.
I have no other questions, Your Honor.
Are there any questions for this witness from the jury? I see at least one coming up.
Jury gets to ask a question, guys. Before each witness gets told they can leave, the jury can write down a question and submit it to be asked while the person's still on the stand. And that is what they do in Arizona, and I think they should do it in every state. I like it. Yeah, it's not. She has us all confuzzled. I admit that. Absolutely, Nancy. But why was she wanting his superior's number? Like, was she gonna call and complain? Those are expensive calls nowadays. This is the person from Social Security. You know, Kate, I had that question in my brain. So I get why you asked that. Sadly, I don't know. If we go by Lori's past behaviors, it seems to line up that way. But I can't help but wondering if she was asking for herself for the future too. Like, but at what point is the jury going to say, why do they keep referring to the children in past tense? Keep in mind, that's not supposed to make any difference. They're not supposed to know. But if Lori opens that door and it gets brought up, that's on her. I don't know how she would pay it back because as she's serving life sentences, she's never getting out anyways. So I don't know how she would pay back. I mean, maybe with prison earnings. I'd have to phone a friend on that one. Could I do a I honestly don't know. Well, here's another example. Think of Sarah Boone. She's still fighting to get spousal support from her husband, who she's no longer married to, and child support for the son that she can't raise because she's in prison. So it seems like that can still be a thing. People can still get that while they're in prison. Yeah. She's still fighting that family court. I know. It's the Sarans and the Larens and the... Yeah. It is. But I wonder if she was ever charged and maybe prosecution just decided not to put it onto this. But how in the hell can they not understand that this is what she was threatening to do with Joseph Ryan, her husband, before Charles? How can they not see the parallels? Or is it that they're just not able to verify anything because she had him cremated? I don't know, Kelly. That's the question. That's one of the many questions we have right now. Well, if anybody sends this woman money for commissary, shame on you. If to this day she's still getting money from JJ or from Tylee, from both of them losing their fathers, we'd have some serious issues in our system that would need to get worked out if she still was, because they're no longer with us, so those benefits would cease to exist. Or would they not? So many questions. Sarah Boone gets sent money. Was it X account? I believe it's an X account that Sarah Boone has set up on her behalf in a GoFundMe where people could send in money and put money on her books. That depends. Lucid. If you do that in New York, there's something called the Son of Sam law, which I know because of the Rex Heuermann case. If someone is a family member of someone unalived and they're trying to make a profit, if all of that money they would get as a profit first has to be given up as an option, if the family wants to go for it, then they could fight for it and get it. That's how it happens with Son of Sam law in New York. When Arisa Ellerup got her proceeds from her docu-series with Peacock. Because if and when he's found guilty, how much is she going to owe them then? Because that's Son of Sam. And they made an adjustment to that law right after she signed that deal. So it does go into that case. I know, I'm probably just confusing you guys now, though. Sorry. They're trying to figure out how to answer the jury question. You wouldn't believe the amount of people trying to marry felons. And I'm not saying that... Never mind. I'm just not gonna say... Yep. I mean... I have to. I mean, 2 people married to 2 people that are lifers and then they get unalived and unconjugal. There's your sign. Stop dating people that are in prison. Just stop. And stop fantasizing over it and stop sending them money. I believe that as well, Val. I believe that as well. It's a sad thing you start to expect when it comes to Lori. I mean, that's straight up her alley for her type of behavior, in my opinion. And that's all any of this is when I'm speaking. It's just my opinion, folks. I need to get that tattooed on my forehead. Swear. Right, that too. I have an antsy feeling, like more than usual, and you guys know I feel antsy all the time. But this long pause is making me nervous. I would love to know when that investigation that Social Security did was closed or if it's still open. Think about people that do that. They always got to answer to somebody in the next life, if not this one.
I have a couple questions for you, sir.
Here we go.
Were payments to Lori Vallow stopped after your investigation?
They were, yes.
And during your investigation, do you know if Lori Vallow notified Social Security of her new marriage?
She did not.
Based on
Gold digger.
those questions, does the defendant have any follow-up for this witness?
In my opinion.
Do you have any follow-up? Yes. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Linda. How are you?
Mr. Sari, you said that I did not notify Social Security of my marriage
Correct?
that you know of.
To my knowledge, you have not? No.
Okay, so you don't know if in Hawaii I was at the Social Security office and notified them?
Sustain. It's, again,
But you're,
testifying.
Yes, you are testifying, trying to.
so would you have all of the information from every office in that regard?
From our review of the records, there is no notification at all of you ever notifying Social Security of that marriage.
Did she notify them about
Of
marrying
the
Charles
of the
Vallow?
records that you had access to, is that correct?
From our review of these Social Security databases, which would encompass notifications, we have seen 0 notifications.
And what would you have to do to put in a notification?
An employee would have to go on the record and make a change or make a report of contact, that sort of thing.
And so that would go into a major database and then it would be available to you as well?
I could see the train wreck coming from a mile away. Can you see it too?
You would have access to view and see if there was any changes made. There were no changes made after August 2019 on your behalf.
So none were made in November, that, to your knowledge?
There were none made.
She gonna blame the Social Security worker.
And is that something that you would be made privy to
Yes,
As an
in
investigating
the course of your
officer.
investigation?
yes.
So it's not something that you could have just missed?
I did not miss it, correct?
Okay.
When she was asking that question, the little girl voice was gone because she was going on the attack.
To be clear, does Social Security use computer systems to keep all this data?
They do,
You don't just have pieces of paper lying around that you miss?
correct.
So whenever anything is updated anywhere in the country, it's put into a database that you were able to access.
Yes,
And you did access it.
yes,
And you reviewed everything that was in there.
yes,
And you at no point saw any information to indicate that any changes were ever made to those benefits after August of 2019.
correct.
And Social Security was not advised that Ms. Vallow had been married in November of 2019.
Correct.
Thank you.
All right, sir, you can step down.
Trying to blame everybody but yourself, Lori.
Do you have another witness we can start?
I do.
Go ahead.
Okay.